repeating yourself. Like, why are you telling us the story twice? I literally telling you the story twice. Cat wasn't even that big of a part of the story either, which is incredible mismarketing.
Hi and welcome to my booktube channel. If you're new here, my name is Sam and today I'm going to be talking about my 5 best books of this year and 5 worst books of this year, 2025. And now this is my 5th time doing this style of video. I've been doing this since 2021 and I am just like, how are we at 2025 already? It feels like just yesterday I was filming 2024, so it's so weird that we're here, but I'm excited to talk about some of the books this year because I had a lot of like brilliant books in 2025. And if you're new here, I read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy, but I also do like read a lot of literary fiction and kind of romances and stuff as well. I like read a little bit of everything. I like to kind of lean more into sci-fi though, but there's a lot of mixture in this top 5 specifically. But yeah, I read so many brilliant books, and so I'm going to start with my 5 best books, and there's going to be no spoilers in this video, so you don't have to worry about spoilers. I'll give like a brief synopsis of what the book premise is so that you know whether it's like a book for you and you want to check it out as well, and then like the reason why I place it where I have, but there will be no spoilers, so don't worry about that. But yeah, I've read so many good books and I'm so excited to talk to you about it. And yeah, you can probably guess a couple of them if you've been watching my more recent videos. There was a struggle there to pick my 5 worst books of the year because I don't really read that many books that I didn't like. Like there's definitely a few, but the majority of my worst list is made up of books that kind of, more than being like bad, they just kind of disappointed me for various reasons rather than actually being bad. So it kind of feels like a bit of a year because I've got no books to like bitch about, because normally I'm like, I hate this book was terrible because of this. Whereas this year I'm kind of like, this book wasn't bad, but I'm disappointed by it. So that might be a bit of a letdown for some of you that like to hear me like rant, but we'll get into it when we get to it. And I'll start with my best books and then work my way to my worst books. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought what I was saying. But yeah, let's just get into the video. Leave a comment and let me know what your favourite books this year were. Yes, I can't speak. Let me know what your favourite books of this year were so that I can read them next year, hopefully, and get them on my list for next year and we can kind of compare. But yeah, let me know about your best. Or just have a little bitch in the comments. I always love that. Tell me your worst books of this year, and we'll have a discussion if I've read it. But yeah, let's get into the 5 best books of this year. Okay, so here are my 5 favourite books of the year, and I'm just going to go slowly and talk through them. So my first one I actually don't own physically. I listened to it via audiobook, but it is Robopocalypse. Now I read this one because Elizabeth over at Museum Greg Reads kind of recommended it on her channel, and she kind of compared it to World War Z in the style that it's written like mixed media, and it's like different accounts of like a robot apocalypse where robots kind of gain sentience and you're getting all these different information from different scientists or people on the ground, people being affected by it, just everyday people, scientists, army people, and you're getting all different reports and text messages and write-up of events, and it's just kind of detailing the slow gradual apocalypse and where we end up after it, and maybe perhaps the revolution of it as well. And it was just so brilliantly written. Like I had so much fun specifically listening to it because you got so many different voice actors and it was actually really played up really well. And I love World War Z. I think it's a brilliant zombie novel and it's one of the only good zombie novels that I've read because I just love the kind of progression you get and the realism you get, and I think that was very much shown in Robopocalypse. I don't know who the author is because I'm going into this blind, but it'll be on the cover that I put here. But yeah, it was just absolutely brilliant. A lot of fun. There's a lot of dark scenes, a lot of dark premises in this book as well, which made it like more realistic. 'Cause it's like robots don't have emotions, of course they're going to be like senselessly violent against us, and the way they were so systematic about it as well was just, it was a ride to read. Like it was crazy and it was so much fun, and could potentially happen in the near future if Elon Musk doesn't sort his shit out. There is a sequel, Robogenesis I think it's called, and I tried to read it but I ended up DNFing it because it felt like we were retreading the same ground, and I think what we got as the conclusion to the first book was kind of enough. I thought it was fine. I liked the ending, and then in the sequel they kind of try and redo everything and it's not quite as good, so I did DNF the sequel, but Robopocalypse was a lot of fun. So that is my 5th favourite book of 2025. And then my 4th favourite book of this year is technically 2 books because I can't distinguish them, but if you've watched these videos before, you know there's going to be a Before the Coffee Gets Cold book on this video, and there's two in this one because I read both Before We Say Goodbye and Before We Forget Kindness at the same time, like one after the other. I read them when I was in Japan on my trip, and I was literally just binge them, right, pick up the next one, binge it. So I can't remember which one holds what I liked the most because it's all kind of one big story in my mind. So I put both of them on the list, and I hope that does not count as cheating. But basically, this is part of the Before Your Coffee Gets Cold series. I'll put a picture of the first one here so you might recognize it. It is on Big Book Talk at the minute, but it's a Japanese translated novel, and it's about a cafe where you can travel back in time for as long as your coffee is warm. And there's like so many different kind of tedious rules that kind of apply to it, which puts people off and kind of like limits how they can interact with the past. But it's so interesting the way it does, and it mainly focuses on people revisiting relatives that have died or moved away, or dying relatives visiting their family one last time. And it's just so many emotional stories. So this is the fourth one, and this is the fifth one in the series, and I'm surprised it's going for so long because it just keeps breaking our heart every time, and I don't know why. It's like an addiction. It's like, you know it's gonna hurt, but you still keep picking up the next book in this series, and it's like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I crying on a tour bus at the minute in the middle of the Japanese countryside? Like, what is wrong with me? But I really enjoyed these ones. There were some really heartbreaking stories in here, and yeah, of course these are going to be on my best books of the year video. They always are. So yeah, hopefully there'll be one out next year. There is, I think, a sixth book coming out, so hopefully that'll end up on the best books next year as well in 2026. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do when this series is over. I'll be very distraught, but definitely check these out. Obviously start with the first book if you are interested. The Japanese translated novels, I'm going to butcher the first name of this guy, but Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Toshikazu Kawaguchi, that's the author's name. But yeah, definitely check out this series if you want to be heartbroken. It's literary fiction, like I said, translated from Japanese. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. There's so much fun in the sense that you are going to cry, and they're really good. So the third book on this list of my third favorite book of 2025 is another tearjerker, and I don't know what's wrong with myself. It's like I'm touching myself with sad and depressing books, but the next book on my list is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. Now this book, you would need box tissues because it's so, not even a box of tissues, you might have to go to A&E because this freaking book is emotional and it will tear your heart out. And what makes it even sadder is that it's so based in reality and like actual stories and kind of things that have happened. It's literary fiction. It's just emotional, and it's just brilliant, and the way it's written is incredible. So this book basically follows two women in Afghanistan, in Kabul, during the rise of the group beginning with a T. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but the group beginning with a T that then take over Afghanistan. And yeah, we kind of follow the effects of this regime change on these women, and they're both from different generations. So we've got an older woman called Mariam and a younger girl who grows up obviously within the story called Lila. Is it Lila? Yeah, it's Lila. And yeah, the way they interact, because they're kind of forced into this household with this husband that's not the nicest or greatest man ever, and we kind of see their interactions and how this kind of regime kind of affects the way they see the world, how they can interact with things outside of their home, how they can interact with their children, how they can interact with each other and other men and the society around them. And it's just so vividly realistic, because obviously it's based on reality, but the way it's written is like these two people are alive. They are jumping off the page and shouting in your face. It's brilliant. And my main takeaway when I came out of this book was how was this not taught to us for like either GCSE or A levels? Like, this book should be on the curriculum, not just because of the themes and what it's about and how current the topic is as well, but like the way it's written is so eloquently written, and there's so many like powerful quotes and segments in this book that could be talked about within essays. There's kind of different themes of intergenerational trauma and kind of just effects of like this kind of regime change. there's just so much to talk about, and I could see like really brilliant essays being written about this book. So I really I want to advocate for this to be added to the GCSE curriculum, or at least the A-level one, depending on how appropriate you see this for different age groups. But yeah, I just came out of it like, how was I not taught this at school? This book is way better than like A Christmas Carol. And my beef with A Christmas Carol. This book is so much better than Christmas Carol and like Death of a Salesman and the Shakespeare that we read. Not that we shouldn't study Shakespeare in any of those books or any of those books I mentioned, but this one should have been among them. Like, it was so freaking good. It was so good. I absolutely adored it. It was brilliant. But yeah, I rambled it up. Go read A Thousand Splendid Suns. I have also read his other book, The Kite Runner. And my friend Amana came up with this theory that whichever book that you read is your favourite one and the other one won't live up to it. Because when I read A Kite Runner, I enjoyed it. It was really emotional. It was sad, just like this one. But I was kind of like, I preferred A Thousand Splendid Suns. Whereas like she was the other way around. So yeah, this one, go read it. It's absolutely brilliant. You'll thank me later. Like, go read this book. Well, you probably won't thank me. You'll probably throw the book at my face and be like, why the hell did you make me read that? That was sad. And then the second book to the top in this top 5 of 2025 is again 2 books, because I'm kind of cheating. But in my mind, they come par and par. Like, they are the same story, just split into 2 books. And that is the Octavia E. Butler's A Parable of a Sower and Parable of the Talents. Now, I know it's 2 books and this is supposed to be like top 5, and now it's become like top 7 at this point. But I just think if you're going to read one, you have to read the other. They're the same story, split in 2 parts, and I think you can't have one without the other. And I just think I'm going to count them as one. I don't care. This is my video. I'll do what I want. But basically, these books, Parable of a Sower takes place in 2025. This was written in the 1990s and it takes place in 2025, which is so thematic that I read it in 2025. I'm so glad I picked this up when I did. But it takes place in 2025 in a world that is kind of ravaged, or is being ravaged by climate change. Specifically, we are in LA and the wildfires have become like really disastrous. Everything just burns. It's kind of become a scorched wasteland and the government is crumbling. So people are having to go back to kind of little communities, little sections, little groups, some good, some not bad. And our main character is currently in kind of a good-ish community. It's kind of a religious one. Her father's the priest and they are surviving just, and then things start to take a turn for the worse and she is forced out into the world around her, and we kind of see how this climate change and this stuff has affected the country and the people within it. And it's just a brilliant story. It's so masterful. In the second one, we continue on with the same thing and we follow kind of the rise of kind of a more dictatorship government, with the main slogan being around the sides of like, Make America Great Again. And now when I say this was written in the 90s, it's kind of infamous. These books are kind of infamous for predicting the future. Now, not predicting the future in the sense of like normal sci-fi where it's like, this is what I think is going to happen. No, Octavia E. Butler was a very smart woman and she looked at what was happening around her in her contemporary and she put the pieces together, and this is how she saw the future. And the way she was correct and the way that she actually predicted very accurately, obviously not with the dystopia LA. Like, LA is not fully burned down yet, but there has been massive like affected spaces that have been burned down in LA and other places as well, like the tsunamis, typhoons all over the world, earthquakes, everything. Like, climate change is real. And I just think the way she describes it and the way she writes it, it's so crazy how well and accurate she predicted our specifically current year. It was so accurate, other than obviously the wasteland aspect of it. But yeah, she's famed for it, and I think she is a very prolific writer. I think, again, these should be studied in schools. Maybe this one specifically, there's a lot of dark shite in this book. It's very heavy, so maybe this one, maybe not the second one. But yeah, I see these as one story, and that's why I'm putting them as one book in my list, because this one follows on from the main character in this one when she's more grown up and she has a child, and things don't let up. Like, things are relentlessly hard in this new world. And we see it from the eyes of a child this time as well. I mean, she was a child in this one, but we see it from the eyes of a new child born into the world rather than seeing it collapse. And it was, no words. I can't really say any more because I don't want to spoil anything for this book. You have to just go in knowing that premise. But yeah, Octavia Butler, psychic. She knew what was going to happen. And I am distraught that she's no longer with us because I want to read everything she's ever written. I've already caught up with Kindred. I thought that was really good. Not as good as these ones, but it was really good. And I can't wait to dive into the rest of her work. And it probably will appear on my 2026 best books of the year because she is brilliant. And like I said, I'm distraught that she's no longer with us. But yeah, I will cherish the books that we do get to read from her. I'm so excited to get into them. But yeah, read A Parable of the Sower if you haven't already, and then dive straight into Parable of the Time. Like, don't read anything in between them. Read them both together, okay? Don't leave a gap. Don't go, I'll read this one in January and I'll come back in October and I'll read this one. Read them both. Read them both in January, okay? Read these now, okay? Read them. And then my favourite book of 2025 is a little bit of a change of pace from the previous books that have been like disastrously upsetting and realistic. I'm going to jump into a fantasy now, which my favourite book of the year was, if you see my previous video, I can't remember how many videos back it was, but it was my Mistborn video. I really loved The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, which is the second book in the Mistborn series. The Mistborn series is a fantasy series surrounding kind of people that have allomancy, which is the ability to kind of not control metal, but play with different metals. So you can kind of push pennies and like basically fly, but it's like very like realistically written. So there's like a science to it, and there's like a whole system of physics and stuff of how you can move these metals. Like it has to be smaller than you if you want to push it. It can't be heavier. And there's different metals that they can ingest. Let them see other people with these powers, or let them see sources of these powers, or let them see the future or see the past, and like there's like loads of different aspects to it, and it's set in a world with that, and there's like an evil dictator, and they're trying to take down the evil dictator because he is basically ruining the world. The world is like covered in ash and all the people are subjugated, and it's like very much rich against poor. And there's like a group, Kelsia, Vin, and the other people. It's been a minute. And they are trying to take down this evil ruler, Lord Ruler, I should say. And it's a brilliant series. This is the second book in it. And I picked this one specifically. Like, I could have done my trick of putting all three books in this video, but I've chosen one. I've tried to narrow it down. But this book specifically had me screaming at the pages. Like I said in the video, I have a whole video review of this trilogy. Go watch it. It's so much fun. I really enjoyed it. But I was literally screaming at the page of this book like, oh my god, what is happening? And I have not really done that for a very long time for a fantasy book. Like, I don't generally shout out loud. Normally, yeah, in my head I'll shout and stuff, but this one I was genuinely out loud. Out loud. It left my brain and came out my mouth screaming at the characters in this book, and they made me feel so much. Like, again, just the feelings of this book, and it was absolutely brilliant. I loved all the characters in this book and the reveals, and there's so much political intrigue in this one specifically, and the twists and turns, and there's kind of like a mystery as well. And obviously you've got threats of like war and stuff. Oh, it's so brilliant, and I loved it so much. And yeah, my plan for 2026 is to catch up with as much Brandon Sanderson as I can. Like, I want to get to the Stormlight archive. I have the American editions. I can't show you because that's what this camera is set up on. But I have them, so I'm really excited to get to them. And yeah, I'm gonna have like a whole playlist eventually of me just having read all the Brandon Sanderson books. I'm so excited to dive into his universe, his cosmere. And I never really bought into the hype. Like, I always knew there was hype around Brandon Sanderson, but I was kind of like, nah, I'm never going to read a Brandon Sanderson. Nah, it doesn't seem like my thing. I don't want to be like just like everyone else and read this guy that everyone's praising all the time. I want to read other books. And then I read his first three of his books, and I'm like, I get the hype. I want to read all his books as well now. And yeah, I'm a fangirl now as well, like everyone else. Ugh. But yeah, this is my favourite book of the year. So just to recap my top five. Oh, I didn't say my honourable mentions. I have 2 honourable mentions for the top books. It's kind of too late now because I've already spoken about them. But my 2 honourable mentions were Shards of Earth, which I have a video about here as well, about the whole trilogy. This is a sci-fi about kind of world-destroying monsters called architects and kind of uncovering why they're destroying planets. And we have ragtag group, found family. It's a lot of fun. And this is by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And then I have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. So this had to be here. I was tempted to put this on my honourable mentions for the worst books just because going into it I was very skeptical, because I was like, we already know Hamige's story. Why are we getting like a whole book for it? Like, we know, I said there was going to be no spoilers, but we know about what happens to the people that he loves and what happens in his game. So I don't know why we needed a book about it. But then I read it and I was like, actually, although nothing really surprised me, I did enjoy getting a bit more insight into what happened specifically in his games and what he was up to in them. And yeah, I liked it. So I put it in my honourable mentions. I'm sad it wasn't in my actual favourite books of the year. Perhaps her next prequel will be in there. But yeah, I thought I wanted to mention it. So they're my 2 honourable mentions. I probably should have said them first, but they're here now. So like I was saying, to recap, Sunrise on the Reaping, Shards of Earth are my honourable mentions. And then my least favourite book was Robopocalypse. Then the fourth one was The Before the Coffee Gets Cold sequels. Then it was A Thousand Splendid Suns. And then my second favourite one was Parable of a Sower and Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. And then my favourite one was, like I just talked about, The Well of Ascension. So yeah, they're my favourite books of the year. Let's get on to my least favourite now. Let's get into a bit of drama. So quickly leave a comment down below if you've read any of those favourite ones. Let's talk about them down in the comments below, and leave a like if you have read any of them or are going to be reading any of them as well. But yeah, let's get into my worst books of 2025. The absolute dregs of the barrel, these shit books basically. So I'm just trying to hype this up. Let's get into the worst books of the year. Here are the worst books of the year. Have I got all of them here? Yes, I've got all of them here, all 5 of them, and I've not cheated this time either. But like I said in the start of the video, it was really hard to kind of choose books for this. Like, it was hard because I've read like a lot of good books this year. Like, you've seen like my gushing about these books. I had a really good year in terms of books, and a lot of the ones that I would have chosen for my worst books were ones that I'm going to be doing in a separate manga, comics and graphic novels video, so that kind of limited the pool as well. So the first 3 are ones mainly that disappointed me. One of them's a DNF, but they're mainly books that disappointed me and didn't live up to kind of like my expectations, less hype around them, specifically being last books in series. But yeah, let's dive straight into it. So my 5th worst book of the year, which Emily and Elizabeth are going to shout at me for, because it is our buddy read of the Divide series, and I am putting The Relentless Legion by J.S. Dews. How the hell is this happening right now in my worst books of the year? Now, I mainly putting this here. Like, I loved it. Like, you can see how much I sticky tabbed it. Like, I buddy read this with Emily and Elizabeth. We absolutely love this series. We adore J.S. Dews' writing. This is a sci-fi, military sci-fi book about the universe collapsing. This is the 3rd book. Can't really say much more than that. But the universe is collapsing. We follow a prince of the galactic royalty. We follow the prince who's been exiled and some ex-military people that have been sent to the end of the universe to kind of watch the divide, which is the edge of the universe, and then suddenly it starts contracting and getting smaller and smaller, and we have to kind of throughout the series uncover why this is happening and how if we can stop it. And this is the 3rd and final book in that trilogy, and I was disappointed. It felt very much like it was rushed. This felt more like it should have been like it shouldn't have been a trilogy. It should have at least been a quartet, if not have more books after that. It should have been like a series, because this book, there was so much that it had to do, and the way it did it, it was just kind of this happened, then this happened, and then we quickly go on this, and then we do this. Whereas in the previous books, like the first book, we have one goal and it takes the entire book to accomplish it. And in the second book, we have like 3 goals and it takes the entire book to accomplish those ones. Whereas this book, there's like 10 things they've got to do, and it's just da-da-da-da-da-da, dun, 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 and there's no kind of space between them. It feels like the universe is a lot smaller, ironically, and yeah, it just it speeds through it, and whilst I enjoyed it and there was some brilliant concepts in this book and some brilliant character work in this book, it just felt upsettingly fast. And I think if there was another book after this one and we could have spread out this book into 2 books and explored more of the character work between them, because there's sometimes where there's characters that were so kind of integral to the plot in the previous books, they're barely talked about in this one, or their interactions with other important characters are barely shown in this book, and it's just so like disappointing and very let down, because you build up these expectations of this really great finale and then it's kind of subpar and it's disappointing. And that's not to diss this book. I still think I gave it like 4 stars, but like I said, disappointed by it. I thought there could have been so much more potential for this universe and this world and these characters, and I'm so sad that this is probably the last time we are going to see them. Like, we've talked to the author and we've asked about is there going to be any more books just used in this universe, and they've kind of hinted that maybe there's plans, if there's enough kind of attention brought to them, like enough like people reading them, there's potential that she might revisit the universe and might write more, but she didn't sound that kind of like certain. I think she's more into other like projects, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, the Relentless Legion reluctantly is on my worst books of the year, and this just kind of shows how little bad books I've read if I'm putting one of my favorite trilogies on the worst books. But yeah, the disappointment was real, so that was the 5th one. And then the 4th worst book on this year in this video is again another series, and then maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm the issue. I think I've grown to understand that maybe I'm not the best when such things come to an end, whether it be book series or TV shows or whatever. I always end up disappointed by an ending, because I'm always like, this could have been done differently, this could have been done better, if that's kind of, well, I don't know the word, but like pompous to say this could have been done better, and this, but like, I don't know. But I think I might have an issue with the endings, because my 4th worst book of the year is The Raven King by Maggie Steve Otter, which is the final book in the Raven Cycle Quartet. I have a video on these as well if you want to check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's basically Riverdale as books, is how I describe it, which might be offensive to people that actually like this series a lot. But I like this series a lot, but it is Riverdale as books. It's absolutely hilarious. But no, again, same issues as the Relentless Legion, is that I was disappointed by the Raven King. There was so much built up in Blue Lily, Lily Blue. Loved that book, probably my favourite of the quartet, and then Dream Thieves. But this book, I felt it was very rushed. This series basically follows 3 boys, Gansey, 4 if you count Noah, but there's Gansey, Noah, Adam, and they follow up with a psychic girl called Blue, and they're basically trying to uncover kind of a hidden dead Welsh king, as if you find him you get a wish, and that is kind of the main premise of the first book, and we kind of go on from there, and it's like a wild ride, and this is the finale to it, and I found it disappointing. I feel like it pulled things into the narrative that didn't need to be pulled into the narrative. Like, they kind of came out of nowhere. Like, there's a specific character I can't remember the name of, but he's the one that wears the toga and stuff. Like, he was in Blue Lily Blue briefly, and then he becomes like a big character in this book, and we're supposed to just accept him into the main group, and everyone's like, yeah, you're part of the main group, and I'm like, dude, you've been here like 5 minutes, who the hell are you? Like, why are you here? So it kind of pulls in random aspects like that, where it's like, why was that randomly included? Can we not have like pulled things from previous books and kind of tie things together without introducing random new characters, random new dynamics and stuff? And yeah, I was a little bit disappointed about this one. And you can see more of my thoughts on this book specifically with spoilers if you watched that video I did about this series. But yeah, disappointed. Again, not the worst book, but I'm slim for choice, so this is on here. And my 3rd worst book of the year is actually the DNF of this thing. There's only one, and that is one that I'd really hoped to enjoy. I was really wanting to go into this book and love it, because I'd watched the film and I did find the film a bit boring, but I saw so much potential in it, so I thought, oh, I'll read the book because the book is huge, and I can get more understanding about the characters between this, because that's what was really interesting specifically about the film, was the character dynamics and what was moving them, because it was a movie about grief. And then I read the book And I was like, I can't finish this. This is just so... It's such a slog. So the book is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, more famously known for her book The Secret History, which I also DNF'd. But earlier on, I did the audiobook eventually. I read the first few chapters, then I moved to the audiobook, and I got about 12 hours into the audiobook. I can't remember how long it was. I think it's about 20 hours long, and I got 12 hours in. And I was so like pushing, like, no, let's just finish it, Sam. Let's just get it done. Let's just finish it. We're nearly there. But I just got to a point where I was like, I want to read other books. I don't want to finish this one because it's not moving anymore. It's not going in any direction. It's stagnant. It's stuck. And basically this follows a boy. He was at a museum with his mum, and there was kind of a terrorist attack, and it blows up. And he loses his mum, but he steals this like really significant painting, the Goldfinch, and we kind of follow the guilt of that and kind of how he comes to terms with losing his mother, and eventually everyone's kind of looking for this painting, and it's all about that. And it has a really interesting kind of simple premise to it about dealing with grief and stuff. And the first 10 hours were brilliant. I loved them. They were so good and so interesting and dynamic. I liked all his different interactions with the different characters around him. And then we got to that 12-hour mark, and we were in the same place where I think we were at his dad's or something, or he'd grown up or something, and we just hadn't moved for this entire like time, and we were just talking to the same character, and that character was boring. And I couldn't go forward. I couldn't read any more of this book. I was so fed up. I was like, I can't do it anymore. So that's why I stopped. But I thought I could include this, and I allowed myself to include this because I did read so much of this book. I read 12 hours. I'm not going to let that be for nothing. It's at least going to be in one of these videos that I make. But yeah, I was very disappointed by The Goldfinch. Very upsetting. And then the second worst book of this year was a little translated fiction, which doesn't normally arise on the worst books of the year videos, but we have Murder at the Black Cat Cafe by Sashishi Mozo. And this is kind of murder mystery set in I think it was like an inn or something, like a Black Cat Inn. I can't really remember too much about it, but I binged it all on my flight back from Japan. And yeah, I found it very boring. Like the mystery itself was interesting in how it was portrayed, like linked to kind of the history of Japan and kind of how people moved back and forth between Japan and stuff. And it was based on all like the history of Japan, and it was really interesting until you get like halfway through the plot, and then it recounts the entire plot back to you. Like you read about this much of the book, and then the rest of it tells you again from the start what happens in this part of the book. Like you get the whole mystery, you get the whole story, and then the main character like writes a letter or something and explains what happened to another character, and basically goes, oh, it all started at this, and then and it's like, we've literally just read you do it. Why are you repeating yourself? Like, why are you telling us the story twice? It literally tells you the story twice, and it pissed me off. I was like, why am I wasting my time here? Like, why am I reading the exact same events, the exact same story 2 times? Like just in different kind of first person, second person kind of aspects of it. Like, why am I reading this 2 times? It wasn't even that good the first time. Like, it was kind of boring the first time. I only finished it because I was on the plane and I had nothing else to read. But yeah, it just frustrated me that it was the same story twice. And yeah, it was very disappointing for such a beautiful cover. And yeah, it was kind of, No, and the cat wasn't even that big of a part of the story either, which is incredible mismarketing. But yeah, disappointing. That's all I've got to say. It just wasn't very good, and I really hate how repetitive it was and why it explained the story after then telling the story. It was weird. It was very weird. And then the worst book of the year is also in a video. So yeah, you'll probably be able to get more thoughts on this specific book in that video. But it is Philip Reeves' A Darkling Plane, which is the 4th book in the Mortal Engines series. It's the last one of the first series, and it disappointed me a lot. So this basically The synopsis of the first book is a city, the world has been ravished, we've moved on, there was a big 60-minute war, everything was destroyed, so cities kind of evolved to be on wheels and they move around the wasteland eating other settlements and countries and kind of absorbing the resources of different towns and cities and stuff, and it's like this big kind of fight for survival, and we follow some characters living in this world and things happen. That is the synopsis as best as I can do it. Like, there's anti-tractionists, which are people that don't think these cities should exist, and they're kind of like the main foe of the thing. There's kind of murder mystery, and yeah, it was a brilliant book. I think it was on my favorite books last year. In my previous video, the first one was on my best books of the year. Now we've moved a year onwards, and the fourth book is on my worst books of the year. It's specifically at the top place. It's like it's the worst book of the year, and that is because it was incredibly drawn out. It was a waste of time. Nothing interesting happened. We moved so far beyond the initial plot and the initial characters that this just felt redundant. Like, nothing in this book that happened matters. I feel like this, yeah, like, it didn't need to exist. Like, we could have ended with the third book if we'd have just tied up a few loose ends at the end of the first book, at the end of the third book. That, like, I wasn't big on the third book, but that could have been the end to the series. Why did we need this, Philip Reeve? It was completely pointless. I kind of was like zoned out in the middle of it to the point where I'm just like, now I'm talking about it, I can't even remember specifically what happened. It was like, I know we returned to specific places that we thought were lost, and it was interesting to explore that, but that could have been done in the previous books. Like, we did not need, I was not that interested to have like a whole book about it, and I just think the stakes were very misplaced. We had a lot of new characters that didn't specifically draw any attention or any feelings from me. Like, I did not care about a lot of the characters. We'd moved so far beyond the ones that we did care about. We'd killed so many characters along the way that were actually vital and important and interesting and had like interesting dynamics with the main characters. We'd killed so many of those and then introduced new characters to replace them for no reason, and like specifically one villain that we kept bringing back over and over and over and again. We brought this same person back 3 times, 3 separate times. They were killed and then brought back, and they were still coming in this book, and it's like, what is the point? Just leave them dead or don't. Like, we don't need to keep bringing them back and giving them the same story arc over and over again. It frustrated me a lot. So if you want more in-depth thoughts on this book, check out my Mortal Engines video. It's one of my more recent ones, for more thoughts on that one. But this was extremely disappointing and a complete waste of time, and I thought I'd just put it as my worst book because it was either this or this. Both frustrating. This one less so, because this one was a sequel to a book that was one of my favourite ones of 2024. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was going to be one of my favourite sci-fi series, and then this came along and ruined it. So this is why I chose this one over this one. But yeah, waste of time, Philip Reeve. Why did you write this? So critical, sorry. But yeah, Dark and Flame was not a fan of this one. Terrible. More thoughts in the video specifically about the series. But yeah, to recap, the worst books of the year are The Relentless Legion, unfortunately, purely just because I was a little bit disappointed by it. It was still a good book. Then we have The Raven King, again, okay book, but disappointing. Didn't really follow up on everything that could have been followed up on, and didn't really tie everything together the way it probably should have done. Then we have The Goldfinch, which I DNF'd because it was a slog, and it really disappointed me how boring it got. A lot of disappointment in this video. And then we have The Murder at the Black Cat Cafe, which was repetitive and stupid. And then we got A Dark and Plain by Philip Reeve, which kind of ruined one of my favourite sci-fi series. But yeah, that is the worst books of the year. And that kind of rounds off the end of this video. So now I've talked about my 5 best books of the year and my 5 worst books of the year. So I'd love to hear what yours were in the comments below. Please let me know some good books to read in 2026, because I really need like a bigger pool to pull from when it comes to my worst and best books next year, because it was hard this year. And I think I say that every year, but this year specifically was hard to pick books for the worst ones specifically anyway. So yeah, leave a like, comment and subscribe if you like this video. I'm going to be posting hopefully a lot more in 2026. I still have a China video that I need to post this year, but it's literally the 30th of December right now. So I think that's going to end up coming out in January, even though I went to China in October, but I've not edited it yet. So yeah, that's embarrassing. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of videos in 2026. So if this is your first video by me, hi. I hope you enjoyed. I'm Sam, remember. I'm terrible with names as well, but I'm Sam. And yeah, I talk about every book whatever book I read, I'm interested in making a video. I do a lot of series reviews and trilogy talks and stuff like that as well. I'm hoping to do some more specific like one book review videos next year. I'm planning to do one for The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and we're hoping to get back into the My Year of Sci-Fi series that I'm going to do. Series 2 is coming out in 2026. I'm going to read more sci-fi books and do videos about them. I'm going to be reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson books, so if you like Brandon Sanderson, I'm going to be hopefully reading through a lot of his backlog. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in 2026, so I hope that I see you there, and I hope that you subscribe and support the channel. And yeah, let me know if you have a YouTube channel. I'd love to subscribe and follow you guys as well. But yeah, leave a like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the new year. Have a great one. This will probably come out in January, but Happy New Year. And let's get into 2026 and have some fun. Everyone be responsible and safe. And yeah, let's get into the next video, which will probably be the China vlog. I don't know. But let's go. I don't know. This is the end of the video. Sorry, I'm kind of losing track of what I'm going to say. Have a great New Year, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.